River behind me is in beautiful natural condition up here. You can see that. It's probably, this area, probably aside from having a wooden deck underneath me here, it's probably not been altered in hundreds of years in any substantial way. This area of geography was originally known as Survey. It wasn't officially Bonita Springs then. It was just called Survey because there was a large survey crew doing work here and surveying this area. They picked up the name Survey. And there is a USGS water levels station right here on my property, right on the edge of the property in the river, that is still active and still the same place as it was back in the 1940s. But if you look on the name, if you look on USGS, United States Geological Survey, and look at the name of that station, it's called Near Bonita Springs. It's got a long number, and then the last part of the name is Near Bonita Springs. The river used to be called the Corkscrew River, and it was called that for kind of obvious reasons. It's extremely windy. If you look at an aerial photograph of it, it looks like a corkscrew. And that name was changed by probably right around the same time as the Kiel Canal was dug. It was changed to the Imperial River to make it sound more imperial. And I guess as a sales tool, I suppose. And I think that was kind of a silly change. But so now it's known as the Imperial River. It's not really very imperial. It's not very deep. It's not very wide. It is very beautiful, but it's sure the Corkscrew River was more appropriate. That is the case for most of the river in the eastern third of the river within the Bonita Springs city limits. The eastern third of the river is relatively unaltered. As you get a little further east here, it becomes the Kiel Canal, and that's of course an alteration. That was the natural tributaries in this area, of which there were 3 or 4, were kind of the water was usurped by the Kiel Canal, but fortunately didn't do much damage to it. But from this point right here to the west, the river stays in its natural shape. The trail that is called Cullum's Trail in Bonita, that was part of the reason for that trail, was to try to keep the river in its natural condition, just to influence that as much as possible by people falling more in love with the river and using it more. And a lot of people really are becoming very fond of this river as it's become more accessible and more well known. A lot of people have loved it for a long time. The river's in great condition now. From here about a third of the way toward the edge of Bonita Bay, the river's in really beautiful natural condition, and it's in good health from there on the rest of the way to the bay. Although it becomes kind of backyard USA, it's still pretty. It is now probably as much as it ever was important to the city, probably for different reasons. It used to be used for transportation, and like all rivers, like most rivers were, but now it's used for recreation more than anything, and it is very beautiful. It's in good, clean condition. It's got gorgeous trees, beautiful wildlife, and people love to put in either kayaks or canoes up here, or a lot of floats, a lot of inflatable floats. Last couple of weekends ago, we had 50 people show up right here and do a float down the river. A bunch of trucks dropping them off, and their friends all getting together and dropping the trucks off at the other end, coming back here. And anyway, they did a big float. They advertised it on Facebook, and it was a big success. But if you look on the name, if you look on USGS, United States Geological Survey, and look at the name of that station, it's called Near Bonita Springs. It's got a long number, and then the last part of the name is Near Bonita Springs. And of course, it's right in the middle of Bonita Springs now. But surprising how long they leave lines on these trees. But this was the water level in '95 right there. It's that high. So this was all underwater. From here to my house, everything was underwater.
Wow.
And then when the water dropped down, and this river is really replete with natural treasures. and some of those being some of the foliage that you see primarily on the river, like the beautiful buttonbush, which is not very common unless it has its feet wet part of the year, and we have quite a large amount of that right along here. And if you look that one up, if you're not familiar with it, look it up and you'll see a really most extraordinary flower. A lot of interesting wildlife, birds in particular. A lot of birds love to be on the edge of the river, green herons and great herons and just on and on. I mean, all the birds you'd see anywhere else, you see more of in this area. And so it's great that way. We have a lot of marine life. We have otters and fish, all kind of fish. We get I've seen mullet up here, tarpon, snook, even seen permit up here right behind me. A lot of those species I just mentioned, all of them go from saltwater into freshwater and back. They like to have access to both. So that's the case here. This upper portion of the river where we are now is all purely fresh water. There's no saltwater intrusion up here. In the future, in the not too distant future at all, this river will become even more important to the city of Bonita because it has a lot of commercial potential that has been unrealized yet, and it hopefully and probably will be just what we being those of us like me who really care about the river, I think it'll be just what we would like to see, which is things that take advantage of the beauty of the river and utilize the recreational potential of the river. It's an incredible thing, even like it is right now, and it's going to be twice as good as soon as we get the rest of it done. So come on down here and see it. You'll be surprised at how beautiful this trail and this river is.